In this video, we're going to talk about composition of functions while evaluating from a graph. So remember that composition, it can look like either one of these. So we've got f of g of x, and that's how you say that for either notation here. One way we can write a composition is with this open circle. It kind of looks like a multiplication dot. Or the way I prefer to read it or write it out is where we've got the g of x inside or as the input of f. So remember, we go inside out, so x is your input into your g function, and that output is input into f. Same thing here, x input into g, and that output is the input into our f function. So let's go ahead and look at our graph. We've got our half circle c function and then the absolute value v function, both with limitation there. And if we've got c of v of 1, let me just move these over. Oh no. Oh, I gotta go cursor here. Give myself some more room. So for c of v of 1, this is the preferred method for me to read it. Because then it's easier to look at how I go inside out. So 1 is my input into my v function. So my x-axis, I go to 1, and my graph is actually right there, and that's a y value of 0. So my output for v of 1 is 0, and now that's my new input into the outside function c. So now x equals 0 on our c function gives us a y value or output of 5. Remember to try these before, so pause the video. For the next one, I've got v of c of -3, so I'm going to input -3 into our c function. I go to -3, I go up until I meet my c function, the circle, and that's a y value or output of 4. So now I have to do v of 4. And at 4, I see that my v function gives me a y value or output of 3. Now remember that these are written differently, but if these both have the same initial input, they mean the exact same thing. So if this was a -3 here, we'd get the same output of 3 as we had from this composition. So for this one, v of c of 4, I like writing this out a little differently. So 4 is my input into my c function. So 4 gives me an output of 3. So that is my new input into my v function. And at 3, the v value is 2, or the y value is 2. And then our last one, v of 2. Remember that a composition doesn't have to be two separate functions. It can be within the same function. So this is v of 2. So 2 into my v function gives me a y value of 1. So now we input 1 into that same v function. Right here we get an output of 0.